I'm going to steal this chair.
Yeah, go for it.
And
make yourself comfortable.
then I can position myself right near the door here. Oh, thank you.
You doing a few chats today?
Well, I had a chat earlier, and I actually 3 minutes ago wrapped up another screening, so I'm a little out of breath from moving it across the way. My name is Giles Edwards, and I'm with these people. And
nice, sweet movies. Why are you talking to us?
Oh. I like to talk to any filmmaker, even of your straightforward family comedies like Apocalypse Clown.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess if you might want to introduce yourselves for our little recording here, and as I said, these are two of the people behind the film Apocalypse Clown, which had its outside of Ireland premiere last night. So
I'm George Kane, the director of Apocalypse Clown.
I'm Shane O'Brien. I'm the writer, one of the writers of Apocalypse Clown.
Yeah. So
how is Canada treating you so far?
Canada's treating me great. Yeah. I was actually born in Ottawa.
Oh.
So I've been here many times. I've got family here. Haven't been back in about 6 years. But Montreal's great. I was here for Fantasia about 7-8 years ago for the Frontier Marketplace for some other project that never happened. But it's great and very welcoming.
Yeah,
it's been lovely audience.
Yeah, that was a full house last night.
It was. Yes, full house, and it's playing again Sunday afternoon. So hopefully another one. We'll see.
Yeah. No, it's definitely enjoyed myself, and you certainly. Among the many things I think you mastered there, the poster is a wonderful eye-catching draw with a great combination of apocalypse and clown. So that's
it's both boxes ticked.
It's the two nails on the head that I guess you both wanted to in starting this project. So I guess I'll make my first official question be what. Would you be able to talk a little about the inception of this, I'll call it a comedic vision?
Yeah. Well, it started, I mean, its first iteration began as, I was part of a comedy group called Dead Cat Bounce, which the other two writers, James Danian, were in together, and we had a sketch show many years ago, like 2008 or something like that, and one of the first sketches he wrote was about three clowns who just really terrible children's party, and it was like we came up with one vision that we had, which was three people walking on stage in clown costumes, and the first line was, "Well, that was embarrassing," and it kind of that was the absolute genesis of all of this. And then so we wrote that sketch, and then a couple of years later we expanded it into an hour-long play, which we did at the Dublin Fringe, and then around that time we were kind of working with George on another film called Discoverdale, which was a sort of fly-on-the-wall mockumentary about us as a comedy rock band pursuing David Coverdale around Scandinavia. David Coverdale being the lead singer of Whitesnake. So there's a lot of detail in this.
And then, a very long road.
And then around that time we kind of made that film, and we were in Galway Film Flat, where we presented it. And at that we pitched the idea of the clowns in a full movie, and it was sort of more of a kind of became fascinated with the idea of humanitarian clowning, which is something that genuinely exists, and it is actually quite noble, where they kind of clowns go to refugee camps and things like that, but we thought of kind of genuine disaster zones and sending in clowns, and that would be ridiculous, and that was kind of the starting point, and then it sort of just rolled on from there.
Yeah, we want to do some very heightened cinematic adventure with these incredibly unlikely central characters in it, and aiming high, thinking of things like Tropic Thunder on a very small scale, an Irish low-budget comedy scale, but with these three brilliant characters just lost in the middle of it. And it's just gone on a long road for the past 7, 8, 9 years, where that humanitarian thing went a certain distance, and then with COVID and everything, we had to reassess the whole project, what we could really afford, and decided to set it in Ireland and figure out how we could do that and to maintain a lot of what was in the script. And then this apocalyptic idea emerged, and we kind of committed to it, and it kind of felt like it was in the spirit of the times around 2020, and COVID was happening, and a lot of that fed into the development of the project, and we carried on.
Yeah, Yeah, I saw something that, gosh, I hadn't seen in credits for a bit, the COVID team.
Yeah.
That,
Exactly.
because I was here last year, which was the first live one after, all the lockdowns had pretty much petered off, and it was definitely a whole lot of, COVID this, and so there's a flashback of sorts, and hopefully not a premonition of anything further to come, at least in my lifetime, and all our lifetimes here, because it's like, to put it very, very mildly, that was really annoying.
It was rough, yeah.
And even beyond the very tragic ramifications of that phenomenon there. So I guess one quick question that is very superficial: the villain's lair. That was obviously, or that seemed to me like something that had existed of its own. It had a sense of permanence, or was that
Alfonso Land.
Alfonso Land. Was that
It was kind of a combination of two things. One which was a big top for an Irish circus that does tour, and then the other is what's it called?
It's called Fort Lucan. That is a permanent. Well, it was closed at the time because it hadn't reopened post-COVID, which is perfect for us. But all that exists, the pirate ship, everything that's in it, and we just adapted it to be a low rent theme park that has been derelict for years that this guy hasn't been using, and we put the big top in it, camped out there for about a week, shooting quite a lot in there. Yeah, so that's still there. It's now open again, and it's been renovated, so you can visit Alfonso Land.
And just to clarify for our listeners, there is of the number of clowns, there's an old sort of disgraced clown trying to get a comeback who has his own theme park where, shall we say, the fiery climax to the motion picture takes place.
He had a fairly successful TV career in the mid-90s. He was disgraced because of an after-party accident, and has resented everybody involved ever since, and is desperately craving the fame he once had.
Yes, I was curious throughout, because wondering which direction that controversy was going to go, because I could see it having fallen into a number of different categories. So I'm glad you. I guess there's a part of me that's glad you chose the tasteful one of just mere violence and just on, as opposed to something
just a boy band.
Something scarier and involving clowns.
Oh yes, well that was a constant thing of Matt. We didn't want to make it too dark, I suppose, with some of the backstory. Well, that is pretty dark, isn't it? What am I talking about?
It's well, there's a cheeriness to the darkness, and certainly you have your very dark character who is Funzo, also known in her previous life as Janet, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's right.
And I really feel it kind of came together when you had Ken and Dean and Janet all in the old front crank car.
Yes. Yeah.
Having their quiet moments that had a wonderful bit of pathos and humor to it, which I can't say I was entirely expecting the collision of those two items after the shall we say opening excitement of something terrible is going to happen. Here it is happening, and the sort of quest.
But it was all on the page, I think. But the cast they brought a lot more pathos to the movie than that was maybe on the page. I mean, it was there, but we got very lucky with a very endearing trio who just sparked off each other and genuinely really liked each other in person as well. So you could just sit the camera on the three of them in that car and let them talk. It would have been entertaining for hours, But they just there's a lot more heart in it through David Earl's performance, and even Natalie, who plays Funzo, sort of having that moment. It just deepens it in a way that, like you say, you wouldn't expect from such an insane premise.
Yeah, and David Earl, I take it he was Ken.
He was Bobo / Ken.
Bobo / Ken, the saddest of the half a dozen or so clowns that I think we encountered there.
Yeah.
And I guess coming to this film from my angle as a U.S. kind of guy, and one of the issues you explore there vis-a-vis the ex-boy band fellow and the neck deep in conspiracy pursuits there. I guess I'm glad that those various theories have been put to a more benign use than they have been for general political society where I come from, to encapsulate a lot of things that a whole lot of people actually believe.
Well, it was definitely reflective of a lot of things that were in the air, still are, but at the time in 2020 during that lockdown.
Oh.
So obviously Jenny encounters Tim from Broman as a boy band, and he's full of these theories, but it was very much linked to stuff that was happening on Twitter in Ireland too, not just America.
That's right. I suppose there are crazies worldwide.
There's stupid people everywhere.
Well, yes, to put it a bit more bluntly, yes. And so I was like, oh yeah, because those are things that I've certainly tried not to think about, and I was like, oh yeah, that's still there. Good.
Yeah.
It's still contemporary commentary.
It's an evergreen topic, I think.
Let's hope that its time comes to an end at some point after the run of Apocalypse Clown, so that people can still.
Well, I mean, maybe this film will change the world.
Maybe we'll solve.
Who are we to say?
Solve it all.
Well, of course, we can always hope. To get back to your guys working together, you mentioned very quickly how there was that earlier project about the White Snake. Like I imagine, I don't want to sound like. I will sound like an American with this, but Ireland is much smaller than the U.S., and so I imagine the circles there are perhaps closer together.
There, in a way, it's a very fertile comedy scene, and it was at the time when we met. So, we kind of met initially because we were both making pilots for TV at the time with RTE, who were the national broadcaster, and the development executive, Jennifer Griffin, put us together and just kind of said, you guys should meet each other, I think you get on. And we did, and we met each other, and we did get on, but we didn't make the TV shows together, we both made separate projects, but we stayed in touch, and we kind of chatted and became friends first, and then we ended up actually having an idea together that we presented. I started as a fan, basically. I really enjoyed what they did. They're a hilarious act, and was always trying to think of something we could develop that could be a vehicle for what they did at the time, which was, a comedy rock band. And it began as an idea for me, was trying to adapt, like the group were busking their way around Europe or something. It was a bit of a road movie structure. And the guys had this really funny idea about like a paternity situation involving David Coverdale from Whitesnake, one of the band believing that he was actually his biological father. He wanted to track him down. And we just merged the two ideas together and literally had a 2-page outline that became a shoot on the streets of Oslo in the space of, I think, 2 weeks maximum. It just happened out of nowhere. And we were just running around with a tiny crew, semi-improvising, genuinely chasing Whitesnake, doing some hidden camera stuff on the street, and just trying to make this story happen as we went along. And our producers were back in London trying to contact Whitesnake and their management team and make them aware of what we were doing, and it just sort of gradually came together in this wonderful way. I don't know if anyone's ever going to see it, but it really ends very, very well, and we kind of got the approval of the Whitesnake team, and it was just such an accidental feature that did well in festivals in Galway 10 years ago, and led to us developing a more sort of substantial scripted budgeted project, which is this a decade later.
Well, speaking of a decade later, that makes me think, for the research for this clown, this clown film, there are a couple points where a lot of names are dropped with a sense of authority kind of behind them. How much research into clown history did you put into this? And of those names dropped, are those tying to historically pertinent clown figures?
Collier, things like
Grimaldi, all those guys. Yeah. Well, so I wouldn't say we did extensive research, but we did some research. I mean, the reason they're clowns, it kind of started as sort of, I guess it was an analogy for people taking a very stupid career very seriously, and that was kind of what we were doing in comedy at the time, and we were thinking about giving up, and that was kind of what the clowns are going through. So that's why we used clowns, and then we would obviously be familiar with a lot of people who are working clowns, but more modern clowns, not party clowns, like comedians like Natalie, like Paul Curry, who's a kind of brilliant Irish clown, and these kind of people, and we kind of would have a certain understanding of clowning. Then we did our kind of research in terms of the historical sort of significance of various types of clowns, the power dynamics between them, how they play out on stage. You would have the kind of the various status levels of the different clowns, And we tried to kind of build that in so that there was a truth to it as well, you know, so that anyone watching this who was a clown wouldn't say that's total horseshit, you know. So as I say, we did do some research, but again, I wouldn't call any of us authorities on clowns after it. But I mean, Gollier and Grimaldi and all those guys, they're kind of like I suppose, just the well-known kind of people that you reference, I think, if like certainly people in that world would know them. Like
Lecoq and Gollier are major clown,
yeah.
you know, teachers in France. Like Natalie has met Gollier, like Sacha Baron Cohen, many others did train under Gollier or Lecoq.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people have gone through that very intense process. So our character named Jean Lecoq is modelled on those kind of guys,
right.
and he has a gong behind him, which apparently, I think it's Gollier.
He beats a drum.
Yeah, he beats a drum. He makes, like, a clown has to walk across the room, and I think he beats the drum until you're funny, or you know, it's very intense and intimidating process, and it scars people.
I can believe it.
Yeah,
it's from the brief observation of, you know, that 5-6 minute opening thing to sort of kick off that coinciding tragedy and spiritual quest. Like, okay, it is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. It sounds insane, really, but I don't think it's like an enormous parody of that. It's not too far removed from the reality of it.
It's a thing just utterly destroying your ego, you know, like putting it aside. You
know?
I think that's kind of the purpose of it, is if you put yourself in such a horrific situation whereby most people would just collapse and you get good at that, then there's nothing you can face that you won't be scared. You know?
Yeah, I recently interviewed a director who I spoke with. Yeah, he was in France at the time because he was going to a clown school with the focus of learn by failure. Yeah. Kind of winnowing event there. Yeah. Quick question for you: do I have 0 minutes or 5?
You have like 15.
Okay. Well, I'll slow down my talking then.
You're only interviewer, so you can.
Yeah.
As long as it's okay with you guys.
Yeah, it's fine. Really cut loose now.
Can't really lean back in this chair here. So you two are going to be in town through the next performance as well?
Yes, tomorrow at 2:15, I believe. We're having our second showing, and then we'll be gone by the night time. But we've done another Q&A afterwards, so that'll be fun. Yeah,
That's good. Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of curious about the path ahead for Apocalypse Clown, because Ireland, Canada, is it going to be traveling further on?
Yes, that's the idea. We've September 1st, it's being released in Ireland and the UK in cinemas, and there are deals in other territories that haven't been firmed up exactly when or how it's being released, but Scandinavia, Germany, North America, India, Russia, I think South America was being talked about. So we have a sales company working on that, and we have sold certain territories. It will be on airlines as well, which I'm very pleased with. But we hope it'll be released in the not too distant future in North America and Canada. I don't know whether it's theatrical yet or not, but we'll see how that develops. But it will be, and it'll be on Netflix in UK and Ireland end of October, I believe.
Okay. And those, from my experience, if it's in one country, it can be known to travel to other. That's something that, as a contemporary individual, I am, and a film writer or a film reviewer, is like I am troubled by the interesting dynamics of regions that still exist, and the fact that there's a Netflix UK Ireland and a Netflix elsewhere, it's all very, I don't know, 50 years ago to me, kind of feel that.
Well, for us, I think we just want it to be seen by.
I'm certainly thrilled that it will be unleashed onto probably a fairly unsuspecting.
I think so. Well, we think there's not much like it, especially in cinemas at the moment, and coming out of Ireland, it's hard to compare it to any other Irish comedy of recent years. So we're quite excited to see it advertised on the side of buses in Dublin City and being in most cinema screens in the country. I've no idea what to expect with it, but I can't wait. It's going to be great.
I think, I suppose one of the good things about the name of this is it sort of self-selects the audience. So if you're not into apocalypses or clowns, you're not going to go to this. And if
you'll miss out if you don't.
So that's probably we're hoping that it finds its audience.
Yes, definitely the truth in advertising and the two main points to hit. Like mentioned at the start, and I'm also going to take this opportunity, sitting down with two Irish filmmakers. I am very unfamiliar with the Irish film scene.
Yeah.
Like what? Oh, I wish I had a better way to phrase this question. I don't want to say it, but what's up with it? How is like it's,
What's up with it?
Well, it's I don't want to sound like I'm dismissive there. It's just that
No,
it's coming from a point of almost complete ignorance.
It's been booming in some ways
absolutely
recently.
booming. Yeah, I mean, so Ireland. I mean, even the last year, I think they had a record number of Oscar nominees with kind of Paul Mescal, and the short film was an Irish film.
That's right. An Irish Goodbye.
An Irish Goodbye. It's a really lovely film. Really great watch. On Colleen Kuhn, which is an Irish language film, which was nominated, which is a beautiful movie.
It'll come out here as The Quiet Girl, probably.
Yeah, but so like the industry itself is kind of booming. Screen Ireland are the kind of Irish film body who kind of support and back film, and they've done phenomenal work. They supported our movie. Their support. I think their funding has increased in the last couple of years, so they're just making more and more stuff. There's a really kind of talented set of crew there, because a lot of big, I suppose, TV dramas from the US and North America are made in Ireland. So Game of Thrones was Belfast, there's
on Apple is shot in Ireland.
Yeah, Vikings, all these shows. So we have these really like great crews, and like the setup is there. The locations are great, so a lot of stuff gets made in Ireland, and there's really good film school as well. So
there's been a lot of horror films too, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. So my friend Lee Cronin recently directed Evil Dead Rise, but he had made his previous film was The Hole in the Ground, which he wrote and directed, and it was an Irish set horror movie. It was Kate Dolan's I Am Not Your Mother. There's been a good 4 or 5, and it became a bit of a scene. People were starting to look at Ireland as a source of really good horror films. So that's going on, as well as things like, The Quiet Girl is like a small, intimate, beautiful drama. And then you've got obviously Banshees of Inisherin, which is sort of Irish, sort of like co-production type thing. So there's a real range there. Really interesting stuff coming out.
And loads of animation as well.
Yeah.
Really strong animation.
Of course, yeah. Wolfwalkers, Song of the Sea.
Which are Oscar winners. Like Brown Bag would be, and Cartoon Saloon, and a few others. Like, there's just incredible. And they make a lot of the sort of the cartoons you would see on where the kids watch.
Nickelodeon and
Yeah.
The Amazing World of not Gumball.
Gumball wasn't an Irish one.
What's it? There's another. Anyway, just some really big kids animations that come from Ireland or are made and drawn in Ireland.
Drawn.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on.
Well, I'm
It's a good scene.
very glad to hear that, because I have my fingers in enough pies internationally that they're kind of barely in that particular pie there. So
well, we were at Galway Film Flat last week, which is an excellent film festival to go to. It's in some ways the vibe is not dissimilar to Fantasia in terms of it's casual. It's very informal, casual kind of festival, but there's great people there, great films play there, and it's just an excellent atmosphere. And that would be a good place to dip your toe in if you ever fancy it. It's a good place to visit too.
In the pie.
Dip your toe in the pie.
Dip your toe in the Galway pie. Okay. Well, I'm not really a fan of air travel, but I know there are any number of ocean liners that go back and forth.
If you want to spend a week traveling, you can dock.
Plenty of time to reflect. I can brush up on
watch all your screeners.
Yeah, screeners, appropriate literature for the scene in question there. Well, that is fantastic to hear. Al, do you two have any projects on any scale of horizon, either original, first ideas that are barely formed, or things further along the pipe?
A bunch of different projects. 3 or 4 at this stage, which are in various stages of kind of thought process. I suppose the kind of vary from we're writing a musical about an alien invasion, where we have a kind of an Irish dancing kidnap road movie that we're working on as well, and
there's
then
a real genre mash going on here.
and then there's a bunch of other kind of, I suppose, less developed ones as well. But we're constantly working and writing away, and we're kind of throwing ideas back and forth with George. And obviously George has a lot because he's very in-demand television director, and is doing lots of projects there as well. Really kind of interesting and kind of edgy comedies in the UK. So
we're in post on an Apple series at the moment that'll be out next year. I'm one of 2 directors on that, which I think will be announced properly quite soon. But Noel Fielding from the Mighty Boosh is the lead guy playing Dick Turpin, the Highwayman.
Okay,
That's 1700s. It's got a brilliant cast, which I'm not, I think, allowed to mention anyone yet. But we're in the midst of that, and I've got a film project in development with Screen Ireland as well. That's actually set mostly in Montreal. So I'm hoping, if all goes well, I might get to come back here for some recce's next year and shoot something new in the next year or two. That's entirely, that's my own thing. It's nothing like Apocalypse. But yeah, that's it. I'll be carrying on making TV and trying to get that going and working with the guys on whatever floats to the top next.
Yeah, glad you mentioned Mighty Boosh, because I was definitely getting strong Mighty Boosh vibes from
a little bit of that, yeah.
Maybe
League
of
Gentlemen, a little bit.
Yeah. It's the it's taking stupidity very seriously.
A lot of the best comedies are.
It's when it's executed, it is a beautiful thing to behold there, and it's also something that I have only ever seen from, certainly now Ireland, but also England, that particular pursuit of comedy, because American dumb comedies are just kind of dumb. Whereas it seems there's an ambition to turn it into an art form more so.
It's a different kind of, I don't know if it's a tradition, but things like The Goon Show and Pythons, and there's a very smart silliness in that, all that comedy, even down to Chris Morris is a genius, but it's also Day to Day is incredibly silly as well.
The Day to Days, yeah.
It's like, it's one of the best things ever. What's the American brand of silliness?
I suppose Christopher Guest is kind of what we did into.
Or the Lonely Island guys recently.
Yeah, but I suppose Christopher Guest does that thing where it's that sort of people who really care about something that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, and they do it incredibly well. And that's something that like we've all watched a zillion times and love, and like all of his films really.
So the similarity at the ending of Waiting for Guffman with these characters who have gone through this thing and decide this is what I should do from now on, and you're like, no, don't. You should not be doing this. So they've all learned completely the wrong lesson, and I think there's a similar tone to Apocalypse Now.
Oh yes, the heartfelt finale there with how that turns out. I don't want to expose that too clear, but it's
I think that's
it's an uplifting end, I think, for considering what's come before it. It's
I think it's hit a very strange tone where, like, on the surface it's very colourful and eventually quite endearing and almost sweet, but it's dark and twisted and misanthropic, and there's a lot of dark, cruel jokes in there as well.
Misanthropic and of course
like sweet and sour.
A lot of that weight carried by Funzo / Janet with that nebulous individual who I imagine the backstory for her could well be fascinating, and
I'm sure there'll be a Wonka style origin story someday. There's a lot touched upon that you want to know what happened, who are you?
That's fantastic. Well, I do have my own obligations, but I want to thank you both very much for kicking around today. And before I do wrap this up officially, there's one question that my group likes to ask all the filmmakers we talk to. Can you tell us what your hometown is, and can you recommend a restaurant there?
Okay, in Dublin. So the restaurant I'm going to recommend, I haven't actually been to yet, but I just booked it 2 days ago, and it's an Italian restaurant called Grano, and it's very nice. And Stanley Tucci was in there recently. So that would speak to Stanley Tucci's eating Italian food in a restaurant in Dublin. It's probably okay.
He did make himself famous by making a movie about making Italian food.
Yeah,
so,
and he's a big fan of Irish butter.
Yeah.
Well, every sensible person is.
Of course. I don't know. My hometown is Selbridge, in County Kildare. No, we're not even. There's not a lot of options there. The first one that came to mind was a restaurant that's been there since I was a child called Michelangelo's. I've actually never eaten in it, but it's been there.
I'm guessing another Italian restaurant from the.
I don't know how Italian it really is. There was one that was called it's called Canteen or something. I don't know. It's not. I'm hoping it's going to come up a bit restaurant wise.
Well, if you're trying to think, hometown also take wherever you consider where you live now. Or you're
I live in London now. So
in London. Oh, well.
You know, you don't need my.
You just sort of fall out of you fall out of your window and like, oh, here's a restaurant.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. right, so Michelangelo's in Celbridge, and
International shares.
it's like this,
Guys,
hopefully we
weird bookings
we
in.
can give it a shot in the arm for
maybe
this
so.
reservation. So, well, thank you both very kindly.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you
Thanks,
too.
Giles.
And
Nice to meet you.
Just good to meet you.
I'll be getting this up and posted, and somehow we can get in contact. I can get the link to this in your hands to share around, because this was a half-hour delight, followed the heels of a movie that I sprinted over from. So
Okay.
thank you both again.
Thanks for coming. Brilliant.